Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this week's special presentation. My name is Jerry D'Ambrosio, Senior Instructor here at VectorVest. Our team here at VectorVest is constantly trying to develop new features and products, and I'm extremely excited to introduce a brand new feature within the VectorVest RealTime Derby tool called the Derby Timing Indicator. Now, for those of you who do not have either RealTime or the Derby, stick around to the end, and I'm going to show you guys a really easy way to try out these exciting new features and tools for yourself. Let's begin. I'm going to move us from the home page and I'm going to go right into the Derby tool, clicking on the Derby tab here at the upper right. And those of you who have the Derby will notice after you update the program tonight, after our update is complete, you will be prompted to install a brand new build that will have the Derby Timing Indicator within the Derby tool. So I think the best way for me to describe this indicator first is right here. You'll notice a little question mark right next to the Derby Timing Indicator. If I click on that indicator, it gives you a nice description of really what the indicator is and how it's calculated essentially. It says, and I'll start off with the first sentence, it says this indicator looks at every price and volume filter in today's Derby mode. So let me start there first. I'm going to close this section down. In the Derby, this tool tracks roughly about 180 strategies every single day. And what the Derby indicator, timing indicator does is it looks at every combination of price and volume filters. So all in all, just simply looks at stocks in the Derby greater than $1 with an average volume greater than 100,000 shares. You can see if you drop down this menu here, different price filters that you can use. So if you wanted stocks greater than $2, greater than $5, and so on, you can just simply click on the arrows here and change those filters. I'm going to go back to all. So the first thing that the Derby Timing Indicator looks at is every combination of price and volume filters. Okay, so 2 in all, 5 in all, 10 in all, 2 and 250,000 shares, 2 and 500,000 shares, and so on. Okay. It also looks at the movement of the Dow, the NASDAQ, the S&P, and the VectorVest composite. So if I go to the home page, in its calculation, it also looks at all 3 of the major indices as well as the VectorVest composite. It looks at the advanced decline ratio as well. So what we do is we monitor how many stocks are going up each day compared to how many stocks are going down each day. Now this is a bar chart that I have on my dashboard that measures that relationship, advances to declines. So the Derby Timing Indicator also looks at the ratio of advances to declines. You can see here in our mini graph on the right hand side, not only are you able to see that relationship here in a bar chart, but you can see it graphically as well. I love this indicator because it really helps us indicate the strength of the market, really the broad market support. How many stocks are going down throughout the day compared to how many stocks are going up throughout the day. And you can see today, for example, that more and more stocks throughout today are beginning to fall. So again, it does indicate, either broad market support or lack thereof. I'm going to click on the question mark again, and both indicators, and you can see there's a bullish indicator and a bearish indicator. Both are scaled from 0 to 2, where above 1 is favorable and below 1 is unfavorable. So looking at the current day, looking at today, we can see that the bullish indicator is below 1 at 0.86, and also the bearish indicator is below 1 exactly at 0.86. So really talk about a tug of war today. And that generally happens, folks, at market tops. In the Jockey Club every morning, if you guys are unfamiliar with that, it's a daily webinar that we do every morning at 9 a.m. And it has become a really nice trading group, essentially. The members share tips and techniques that they've had success with, and the facilitator of the group, whether it's myself or Steve Chappell, Kathy Onan, we kind of take the group through the pre-market session, heading into the open, and we begin to analyze the market once the market opens till about 11:30 when the Jockey Club ends. But we've been using this indicator in-house as it was being developed to help us determine when to enter the market. So I mentioned before that these indicators are scaled from 0 to 2. Above 1 is good, below 1 is bad. And we've been using a level of 1.2 to help us enter the market. So for example, if the market was rising and the bullish indicator got to 1.2, we would favor the best performing bullish search that day here in the Derby. If the market was falling and the bearish indicator got to 1.2, we would select stocks from the best performing bearish search here in the Derby. And by the way, before I even continue, this top search here today, folks, DPO and MACD killer crossover, there's one stock in here, OPTT, up 100% from today's open. And I know earlier this morning there were a few Jockey Club members that made a killing on this stock. This stock has been at the top of the Derby all day today. And if I just click on it and right click and view the stock graph, take a look at this stock today. I'm just going to zoom in here. And this stock was on our radar right away, first thing this morning, and it's been skyrocketing ever since. And again, I know a lot of Jockey Club members made a lot of money on this stock, and that's primarily what the Derby will do for you folks. It will bring these hot stocks to your attention with a click of the mouse right at the top every single day. Okay, so I just wanted to point that out because, you know, it's not very often that you see a stock go up 100% here just in one day. Okay, but again, if any stock does, you'll see that stock in the Derby. So again, the Derby timing indicator, brand new feature here, scaled on a 0 to 2 basis. We can see that today both are below 1. So I mentioned earlier that today is a tug of war type of a day and really representative of toppy markets. If I click on that indicator, that's going to open up a market timing graph, okay, with the VectorVest composite up at the top and both indicators, the bullish and the bearish Derby timing indicators, at the bottom here. Bullish indicator is in green, bearish indicator is in red. I'm just going to click on 1 day so we can just get a look at today's action. And really the market's been pretty rough today. Started off, VVC was forming a wedge, lower highs and higher lows. And look at the Derby timing indicators and how they bounced back and forth, crossing above and below each other. Now the market did start to rally here right before 10:30. The bullish indicator crossed above the bearish indicator and began separation. Both began to diverge away from each other. Now the market reversed very quickly, okay, and you could see right off of the 1055 high, the market started to crash. The bearish indicator crossed above the bullish. Now the market has just been somewhat moving sideways here off of that swing low pattern, and you can see the performance here of that Derby timing indicator. So that leads us to believe that there really isn't a true direction today. It's an extremely volatile day. What I look for here is the separation between those two indicators. So let me go to a 5-day graph, and with the Derby timing indicator you are able to see up to 5 days worth of intraday data. Now we don't have end of day historical data for the Derby timing indicator. It is truly, folks, an intraday timing mechanism. So going back to July 11th, July 13th, this is what I look for. I look for separation. Back here on July 11th, the bullish timing indicator stayed right above 1.6, 1.7 for most of the day. Let me actually zoom in just on that day alone. And you could see what the market did. It had a very consistent and sustained rally throughout most of the day. During that run, look at what the bearish indicator was. It was roughly 0.5 for most of the day. So again, that's one of the things that I look for. I look for that separation to give me a sense of not only direction. Obviously, if the bullish indicator is above the bearish indicator, that's indicating that the market is rising. I like to see consistency and sustainability to that move, and the further away the green line is from the red line, the stronger that direction, stronger that move. Let me just scroll over here to the following day. Very similar. Great day to be long in the market here on July 12th. Okay, let me just scroll over just a little bit more. And you can clearly see the separation between the bullish Derby timing indicator and the bearish. Okay, again, very nice, steady uptrend throughout the day. Now, I'm going to go forward to the following day, which was the 13th. Polar opposite, right? Market moved steadily lower for most of the day after a pretty explosive open. Market gapped open on the 13th and basically moved steadily lower throughout the day. And you can see now that the bearish indicator was well above the bullish indicator and stayed there for most of the day as well. And then I'm going to scroll over once again. One more day. This was yesterday, and no separation whatsoever for most of the day here. Both indicators stayed relatively at the same level. Now, in fact, both were above 1 for most of the day, and the market virtually moved sideways, okay, throughout the entire day. If anybody was trying to trade yesterday, you know that it was pretty difficult to turn a profit, especially after the open, okay, because the market moved virtually sideways with a slight downward bias. And you saw that too later on in the day with the bearish indicator above the bullish indicator, especially for, again, the later part of the afternoon. And I'm going to move forward one more time here to today. Very volatile day, very indecisive day, I guess you would say. Neither indicator for any length of time showed any sustainability, any momentum at all. You know, it looked that way earlier on, but things changed quite a bit off of that 1055 high. And folks, these are the things that we've been observing, especially over the last week, or really couple of weeks, with this indicator. And what we're looking at, or what we're seeing, is a toppy market. These are toppy characteristics. Now again, back on July 11th, July 12th, market had some really good days. One of the things that leads us to saying that the market is starting to behave toppy is another market timing indicator that we have. If I go to add parameter, click on the MTI, okay, and I'm going to move us to a 3-month graph. The market timing indicator did just recently cross above that very important 1.5 level. So as you know, when the MTI gets to that 1.5 level, and you can see over the last few months here, when the MTI has gotten to that 1.5 level, the market did start to behave a little toppy. It did so back here in April. It did so back here at the beginning of June. Okay? And again, same situation now. So back here on the 11th and 12th, we looked at that situation here on an intraday graph, and you could see there were some very good days. But the Derby timing indicator is telling us a really important story. Let me go back to 5 days. I'm going to go to add parameter, click on the DTI, and I'm going to take off the MTI and put on both the bullish and the bearish indicators. Again, the DTI is telling us a very important story, that the market is starting to get toppy, and we can clearly see that over the last couple of days. So at the beginning of trends, we see these big unfilled green candles, up day after up day after up day, and the separation between the bullish and the bearish indicator is very similar to what you see here back on the 11th and 12th. But what we're seeing recently again is a very toppy market, a market that seems like it wants to take a little bit of a breather, and the battle between the bulls and the bears is very strong. And this Derby timing indicator has painted a very clear picture for us. Okay, let me close out of this graph, scroll down a little bit. So as of right now, this is real time, right about 12:20 p.m. Eastern time. The Derby bearish indicator is strengthening a little bit just from a few minutes ago. Now it's at 0.95, not yet crossed above 1, but is outpacing the bullish indicator a little bit, giving us just a slightly bearish bias as of right now. So if you're thinking about trading today, one of the things that you may want to wait for, if you're, let's say, thinking about going short, is the bearish indicator to cross above 1. And if you're thinking about going long, waiting for the bullish indicator to cross above 1. So we're not there yet. Today might be a perfect day to sit on the sidelines and wait for the market to decide which direction it wants to take. Again, going back to an end of day market timing graph, we can see the indecision that is the prevalent emotion right now over the last couple of days. In fact, yesterday, VectorVest Composite did form a doji candlestick, and today we can see it being a down day at the moment. So it's been a great run off of the June 27th low. But right now, with the MTI above 1.5, with the Derby timing indicator today not really giving us a clear direction, today would be a day to protect those gains and again, wait for the market to decide where it wants to go before adding new positions into your portfolio. So that's one new feature in the RealTime Derby tool, the new Derby timing indicator. Another feature, I'm going to move from the Derby view to the spreadsheet view, and I'm going to give us a little bit more real estate, is a delta feature here. So prior to this new feature, we were able to see each and every day, all throughout the day, the best performing searches. Notice DPO and MACD killer crossover, 10% gain today. Southern Comfort, 5.78. But as the day moves along, different searches, different strategies begin to perform well. Maybe it's not the search that is up at the top of the list. Maybe it's a little bit further. Okay? And what you want to know throughout the day are those hot searches, those movers and shakers, as we would say. So we've added a few columns here. 5-minute delta, 10-minute gain loss delta, 15-minute, 20-minute, and 30-minute. So I can click on 10-minute delta now and sort the Derby by the searches that have gone up the most over the last 10 minutes. Instead of looking at the total gain from the open, I can kind of break down the day and only look at, again, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes if I wanted to. And I think the best practice to implement using these delta features is by going to a market timing graph. For example, if I just go to a one-day graph here, we could see that the market steadily fell right off of the 1055 high. And let's just say you get to this point where you say, boy, market's really falling. I want to go into the Derby and look at some potential bearish searches and select the best stocks in those searches. Well, that was 1104. We can now run a 15-minute delta because of the high was at 1055. So you want to know from that high, from that pivot point, which searches in the Derby, which bearish searches in the Derby have performed the best. I simply go into the Derby, I click on 15-minute delta, and now I'm able to see at my trigger point, at my entry, right, when I decide to enter into the market, which searches have performed the best over that time period. Maybe it's a little longer. Maybe 15 minutes isn't enough time for you. You want to wait a few more minutes. You can go 20-minute delta or 30-minute delta. So worst stocks over 10 is the search that has gone up the most over the last 30 minutes. Now, it's down 0.5% from the open of today. But if I click on it, over the last 30 minutes, it's really starting to pick up some momentum. Oddfellows short, it's got just about a 0.6% gain over the last 30 minutes, and it's actually up about 1/3% today. If I click on it, you can see, look at that equity curve now over the last 30 minutes. So while this search, Oddfellows short, for example, isn't at the very top of the list, it's showing enough momentum right now that if the market continues to go down, that search may, gravitate towards the top of the Derby list. So these new features, folks, are fantastic. I think they're going to help us tremendously throughout the trading day. So at the beginning of the day, we look at the best performing Derby searches right out of the gate, right from 9:30 to 10 o'clock, maybe even 10:30. We look at the best performers. But again, throughout the day, things are going to change. There's going to be rotation. Different searches may fall into favor later on in the afternoon, for example, that weren't at the top of the Derby or even performing well earlier on. These delta features will allow us or enable us to find those searches, those high momentum searches later on in the day. Okay, folks, so we are super excited about these new features here in the Derby tool. Just to kind of recap, the Derby timing indicator scaled on a 0 to 2 basis. Above 1 is good, below 1 is bad. It looks at all of the combinations of price and volume filters. It looks at the Dow, the NASDAQ, the S&P, the VectorVest composite, and it also looks at the advanced decline ratio, how many stocks are going up compared to how many stocks are going down, and really the movement of that indicator throughout the day. We're also rolling out the new Delta features in here in the Derby as well, all right, allowing you to look at the hottest searches throughout the day. Maybe it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon and you want to find the searches that have performed best over the last half hour. You can do that simply by clicking on that one 30-minute gain-loss delta column. And for those of you who do have the Derby, you will be prompted this evening after our update to install the new build that will have both of these new features in this tool. For those of you who don't have the Derby or RealTime, we invite you to try out the Derby for 30 days for just $29. The Derby trial, folks, gives you free access, automatic access to the Jockey Club sessions every day. Now, I know it's not for everybody. You do need to spend the time in the morning from 9 a.m. to however long you can stay with us. The Jockey Club does end at 11:30, and we will stay with you for those couple of hours and analyze the market and go through each of these Derby searches and identify the best performing searches, the best performing stocks in those searches. And just to reiterate what I said earlier, the DPO and MACD killer crossover search, look at this, OPTT, it's up another 20% from just a few minutes ago when I started this presentation. So these are the types of things that the Derby helps you find, these hot stocks, these hot searches. And the new Derby timing indicator helps us with our entries. It gives us a clear indication that either the up move or the down move is sustainable. So we invite you to try out the Derby for 30 days for $29. If you have the RealTime program already and would like to give the Derby a try, it will be $29 for the first 30 days. One thing I do want to mention though is that we are closed tomorrow. So if you do enter your order, just be a little patient with us. We will process all of those orders first thing on Monday, and you will get an email letting you know that the order is processed and that you're able to install the new build. And if you want to install the new build once you get the email, let me show you how to do that. I'm going to go to VectorVest.com. I'm going to log in with my account, and I'll show you exactly how to do this so you're able to do it right away. And then you just click on the little VectorVest 7. It says Launch VectorVest Software. Click on the VectorVest 7 button, and you're able to download the new build. Again, if you want to give us a call, we'll process that order for you right away. But since we are closed tomorrow, the orders will be processed first thing on Monday. All right, folks, have a great weekend. I hope you enjoyed tonight's presentation, and we really encourage you to give the Derby a try because we think that these new features will truly give you an edge on the rest of the field. Thank you, folks, and have a great weekend.